Tribes Midgard's got a new survival mode and there's a whole bunch of new crafting options in it, so here's some top tips. The basics. The Ore Forge is the brand new crafting option. It doesn't cost any resources to place and you can pretty much dismantle it and put it back anywhere you want. So knowing that you can move your base, the first one that you want to set up is right next to the Tree of Life, the Yggdrasil tree. That blue pulse is replenishing your health, so it's a good idea to build your base fairly close to it. You can always relocate eventually, but yeah, for the first stages, make sure you build close to the tree. So the Ore Forge is the pathway to getting more construction benches down, as well as a whole host of other stuff. What you should focus on first is the tool grinder. Pretty obvious, it's the first one there, but this is how you get your tools to go and gather more resources. You don't really need a bed, as you can respawn at the standing stones if you've got your base pretty close by anyway, and you don't even really need the bonfire just yet in the first few days at least. At night time it does get cold, but you should be okay, especially if you do focus and get the armor set up running as quickly as possible. It doesn't take a lot of resources to craft some of this stuff, but if you really min-maxing, then yeah, there is still ways that you can save some of the resources for more important stuff. So craft a cauldron and you'll be able to make sap juice as well as fish skewers. So if you've crafted a fishing rod from the tool grinder, you can keep up lots of food. You won't be able to get grilled meat until you upgrade the cooking cauldron up to level 2. I advise that you do this though and get this upgraded to level 2 as quickly as possible, because then that means you've got 3 different stacks of food which will help heal you. You can only carry 6 of each of these stacks and they don't really replenish your health as much as potions, so you need quite a lot on you, especially if you're going to go adventuring. So yes, get the cauldron upgraded to level 2 and then hopefully you can start venturing out and getting more resources, and then maybe think about getting a weapon. You need 3 pieces of iron and yeah, it's definitely guaranteed this should be the next thing you make. A basic sword, axe or the brand new spears will do you good, and make sure you get a sort of bow. Next up, don't go ahead and start building a massive base straight away. There's a whole bunch of unlocks that you can get when you upgrade the construction bench up to level 2 and then level 3 where you get another bench. This is how you craft a big selection of items for a base build. In the early stages you really don't need a huge base being built. You want to pick somewhere decent and then make sure you've got other stuff going on. The construction bench pretty much just gives you the option to lay down floors, walls and ceilings. Instead, you want to build up lots of your resources so that you can hopefully upgrade it to level 2 fairly rapidly, and then even think about getting to level 3 to get the construction rig. Again, it's up to you, but min-max wise, making a base right now is not really necessary. You just need a little campsite to store some of your crafting benches before then finally deciding where to have your proper base. The one good thing it does have straight away is maybe a storage box, but your inventory is pretty forgiving in the early stages as well. It is very cheap to craft out of stuff, like the wood is pretty much used for all of the building features in Twig in the first level. Instead of the construction bench, I would actually go for the lumber stand instead. This is how you refine your wood into cut wooden boards. You do have to upgrade it though to at least level 2, but it shouldn't take you too long to do so. With the lumbering stand, you can now go ahead and make the mining stand as well as the tannery, once you've upgraded it to level 2 as well, and these are vital. This will help you get much better advanced tools and weapons sooner and be able to upgrade a variety of your crafting benches once you start getting cut stone and the wooden boards. You are going to start needing fur, so hopefully you're going and hunting lots of deer or smaller critters like foxes and stuff, or maybe it's wolves that give the most fur, but eventually you will be able to refine fur into other materials like yarn, and that's something a lot of people have been asking already in my comments, how to get it. Top tip, don't build them too close together. It's kind of annoying trying to get the UI to match up sometimes and pick the right crafting bench, as it's pretty small, so try and leave some space and don't do what I did. You want to upgrade the mining stand up to level 2 as well, that's how you can start making the cut stone. And don't forget you can also refine resources. If you've got a whole ton of flint, you can make some of it into stone. If you've got too much stone, you can make some of it into flint. Cut stone uses flint and stone, so check that you haven't got an abundance of one resource over the other. One bench I wouldn't upgrade straight away is the tanning one, as you don't need any of the spun yarn for a good long time, so it's not really worth it. Everything else is unlocked. One exception with the mining stand though is that you are going to need 4 pieces of silver, and so you're going to need to head to the swamp or the bog biomes to find it. Now this area is pretty dangerous, and obviously coming up against a Lindorm or a big amount of goblins can be pretty tough, but it is kind of doable even without armour, as long as you've got a couple of weapons with you and plenty of food to heal. Also, make sure you bring some ways that you can get up to the higher parts, as there is often more resources, especially silver, on the cliffs above. This might seem a little bit too counterintuitive though, going into a dangerous area to get these resources now, and you might be really unlucky as it's procedurally generated and the swamps or the bogs might be quite a way away. But I still think it's worth doing it in this kind of order so that you can get the refined resources you need to get more of the benches upgraded quicker. And then once you're back and you've upgraded it, yeah, make as much of the cut stone as you can. This is also how you get wrought iron too. Resources do come back, so you will eventually get more stuff spawning even if you've cleared out every piece of iron, stone or grass in an area. It does take quite a few days for some of them though. Word of warning as well that trees also grow back a little bit quicker sometimes, so don't place your crafting benches over stumps or you'll end up with the trees blocking the way or just being a bit of a pain in the butt. Next, I would go for a shield rack. I feel like a shield rack is better still than having armour, as you can block and defend, and again it's not that much to cost, just need some iron. A basic shield only costs 4 wood and you can start thinking about upgrading it, although you are going to need much more advanced resources like amethyst, which you normally get from coastlines. Hopefully by now you've managed to gain more resources like fur, and you can then go and spin that fur into yarn at your tannery station. So now's the time to go ahead and get your armor loom. Okay, so once you've got that done, then you can maybe think about working on your actual base or some parts like a storage box now, but there is still some stuff you need to know. Enemy patrols do spawn. You get the hell things at night of course, and you do get other things like ducklefowl and other creatures. So make sure you've spent a good amount of time in your area that you want to build your base. Otherwise they do come and attack your base. They'll try and destroy your crafting benches, your fences and some major parts of the wall. Even with a fence built, they can get through this pretty easily, so it just means you're wasting resources for kind of more of an annoyance than anything else. It does pop up with a warning telling you your constructions are under attack, so at least you'll know, but yeah, it's pretty much a pain in the butt. One way to help with this is build yourself up on side a little cliff. You can build all sorts of bridges with the floor pieces, now you have made a construction yard, and this will give you a little bit more security. Again, you still need to check that some of these cliffs don't have enemies regularly spawning, so spend a couple days, and this is why it's also good not to go too mad building straight away. Place something else like a fence piece or even a torch or something down and see if the enemies will come and attack it over a couple of days. I'm sure there's going to be some really cool base designs in taking into account the topography and terrain, but yeah, it's also a really good way to keep yourself a little bit extra protected, as enemies can't usually jump up cliffs, they can only jump down. Next, you want to go to your weapon furnace and make sure it's upgraded to level 2 so that you can start making the stand for arrows. This is pretty vital if you're going to be taking on any of the Jotun, because you can make elemental arrows and these do a lot more damage, especially against Jansaksa, especially with dark arrows. All of the Jotun giants have elemental weaknesses, so you just got to work out what they are. But yeah, dark arrows are probably the best to take them on. Otherwise, you can still get yourself one of the dark blades since you've upgraded your weapon rack to level 2. And that's when you should think about going to taking on the giants, not before, as it will just simply too grindy and you'll probably lose up too much health trying to smash it with the most basic weapons. It's also advised that yeah, you have a set of armour before taking on a giant as well. Okay, a word of warning now with some building tips. If you build yourself just a regular sort of box style house and then you want to put some stairways up to it to start maybe doing another mezzanine or another level, it's very hard to actually get on top of that roof sometimes. If the actual stairs are connected to a ceiling piece and a wall, you'll find that your player often gets stuck. Now the stairs are a level 2 item, so you're going to need to upgrade your construction bench to level 2 to use them, but you can go ahead and use the sloped roofs as well. This might be just a launch day glitch or bug. It seems like a bit stupid that you can't actually get on top of a roof you've built with stairs like this, but there is a way around it. Go ahead and build your base, but instead of having the stairs directly connect to the top of it, just place one ceiling tile on the side and have the stairs running up along the side. Don't place any walls directly underneath that one ceiling tile and you should be able to get on top of your structures no problem. Don't have your beds inside buildings unless you've built a 3 high. Your head actually gets stuck on the ceiling even in a 2-story house, and yeah, it gets really frustrating that you'll have to destroy your bed and half your base as well, because the dismantle option takes away everything touching that block pretty much. I'm hoping this gets refined in later use, but if you're using your mallet to dismantle items, yeah, it destroys pretty much anything within that block. Pay attention to the journal to find out where to get resources. Like the portal shrine here, it needs silver, iron and stone, no problem, but the ancient cores, you only get them from elite drops and defeating some of the Jotun. Don't forget as well that a lot of the cosmetic items and decorations, they can only be unlocked by completing challenge rewards, so check the challenge rewards that you need. Some of them are pretty involved, so you're not going to be unlocking so many decorations until much later in the game. I said you won't need bonfires too early on, but eventually it will become a lot colder. You can see the ice little circle on the right hand side of the compass in the top right corner. I'm at year 1 day 6 at the moment, so I'm about halfway between summer and winter. As that gets close to winter, the nights will get extremely cold, as will the days. So this is when you might want to have lots of braziers and making sure you've got that bonfire around as well. Don't forget you can repair your weapons at the Allforge and your tools using souls, so always make sure you've got a few souls left. And in fact, you always get given 25% of your souls when you die instead of losing all of them like you used to. And it's a good idea to bring a bed with you when you go off to fight one of the giants, so you don't have to keep respawning back far away. Every time you do leave the giant in its arena, it will start replenishing its health. So if you're having trouble defeating the giants, then yeah, make sure you've got a bed close by, and also maybe even thinking about creating an effigy if you have managed to get some of the rowan berries. The effigy fills up your health at least once, but it's still a welcome addition, especially if you're going to place it next to your bed, just maybe outside the arena. Pretty obvious, but use the natural landscape also to help with defences, not just building on top of cliffs, but some of the natural rocks that you find. You don't need to build a fence where I've got this rock, because the rock is obviously going to help defend. Although you don't want your bases too close, as some enemies can do quite a lot of kind of AoE effect damage, and that may even go through the rocks. But it will still act as a deterrent when eventually you are starting to think about more defences. You don't have to really worry about the giants attacking you in survival mode or the hell things, but as you've shown, there are instances where some mobs will come and get you, and it all just depends on where you've built your base. More advanced constructions like the teleportation stone, like being able to craft potions and more actual traps, they can only be unlocked once you've defeated more of the giants. Defeating Jansaxa will give you the right ingredients so you can build your boat dock. So there we go, I think that's a little starter guide on how to build or where to build and what you should be focusing on first. By the time the first winter comes around, you do want some sort of construction or base to help keep the cold out, with plenty of fires and braziers around. And yeah, build high, find somewhere where enemies don't spawn, and make sure you go through the certain things first like I showed you. At the moment, you can go ahead and build as almost high as you want. You just need to go up the levels using your D-pad in build mode using that mallet. But you can only build around 500 pieces on a server. So that's something to bear in mind. The devs said they are going to increase it in future patches, but at the moment that's about as much as it can take. If you're not that fussed about min-maxing, then go ahead and gather as many resources you want and build it pretty much in order. But I still feel like this is a decent way. If you've got any other tips, do let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll be giving you even more advanced guides on Tribes of Midgard survival mode soon. Until next time, rat bags, laters.